Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Jelena.
This is our YouTube on
Utpluthih. For a second, I forgot what we were going to do.
Utpluthih, which means,
I don't know what it means.
I think it means lifting up.
Yeah. I thought it meant that, but I was like,
Yeah, it's not an asana, right?
Because there's no asana in it.
Yeah, it just says Utpluthih. So, yeah.
Lifts don't come down.
Yeah, ever. Utpluthih, it shows up at the very end of the practice. It's kind of the last thing you do.
Last effort. Sometimes you say that.
The last effort.
Teach. Last effort.
Before, we take rest at the end. And in Mysore, there's kind of this infamous count that goes with it, where our teacher does this very drawn out count to 10, what was the longest one? You measured it once.
So the last few times we've been back, it hasn't been that long, just in case you're planning to go and you get put off by this. But a few years back, it was 1 minute and 45 seconds. 1 minute and 45 seconds we were up.
And we have a video of the sort of, what is it, standing, I think, to the drum beat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end, you do Utpluthih to this drum, and it's a 4-second inhale, a 4-second exhale, so 8 second, so 80 seconds. So that's in 1 minute and 20 seconds. So that's on a video. I'll put the link here, and just go right to the end, and you can watch Jelena suffer in Utpluthih for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Like plotting my murder.
Trying to kill me. Oh, wait.
In case I do want to murder, or I do murder David.
Have you subscribed?
This is how you'll know.
Have you liked it? Have you commented? Have you ever commented? Have you watched more than one of these videos and not said hi? Now's the time to say hi.
Yeah.
We read all the comments.
Yeah.
So
kill David.
yeah. Maybe vote for my continued survival. Okay, so Utpluthih, flying up or lifting up.
And yeah, it's not really 10 breaths. It's 10 counts that it ends up being.
10 counts, yeah, it could be.
And so they're drawn out.
Yeah.
And it's a really like a play, because he'll will lift up,
Yeah.
and then he'll say 1, and by the time he says 2, I'm usually at 30 already. Like I've counted.
Yeah.
To 30.
Yeah. You have the trick to surviving with Utpluthih is not to have any expectations about the count, which is really hard to do, right?
Yeah.
If you start to listen to the count, then whoever's leading the count kind of has you,
Yeah. So you count backwards.
I count backwards from 100. Yeah.
And I count in my mother tongue. I count in Serbo-Croatian, and I just go really fast when I count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that takes my mind off of hearing his count. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, don't you have a song?
Oh, sometimes I sing. My nieces, when they were little, they used to sing this song. Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? So sometimes I'll sing this song for a minute in my head as a way to distract myself.
It's your mantra.
Yeah. To have a muffin after.
So what is it? Oh, this is also known as Tolasana, right? Scales pose or whatever. And we do a version of that with the legs just crossed between Navasana, boat pose. We lift up. Very similar. And if you're not doing full lotus, then you would be doing that lift.
Which is harder. So much harder.
Why?
Because if you're able to do a full lotus, then you kind of tie your legs in a knot. And then this is another trick. I flex my feet, and then I become kind of like nice and tight and compact here, and then it makes it easier to lift, versus if you're unable to do lotus for whatever reason, and you gotta cross your legs, your core muscles are working really hard now to keep the legs next to the body. Where here, it's like in a pretzel, so it's a little bit less effort.
Yeah, you don't have to kind of squeeze the legs in as much or hold the legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But both actions, or both versions require this similar action to make it work. And I don't think, sometimes I'm not sure if somebody couldn't lift in Tolasana, then couldn't lift in here, in Utpluthih. But what I see a lot of the time is when people are concerned with pushing through the hands to lift, but they're not taking care kind of the bottom half. And so even if you can get your butt to lift off the floor, it's going to be hard to get your legs to lift away from the floor. So what you want to do is kind of shorten the distance between your shoulders and your hips by rounding your back and tucking your tailbone. So Jelena goes into a posterior tilt. She rolls back on her sits bones, and that angles the thighs up towards the body. Then her work, like she was saying, she flexes the feet. So she's holding the outsides of the thighs, holds the knees close to the chest, and then watch this shifting action. She's going to shift her weight forward into her arms, but hold the posterior tilt, hold the tuck to lift the hips up off the floor. All right? So this is the same action that you need to do in between Navasana as well, where people are crossing their legs and then their hands go in front and they shift forward onto the hands and try to lift off the floor, and the feet don't leave the floor. You have to start with the feet off the floor by rolling back and then hold this shape in the body and then shift forward. So it's almost like you don't lead with your chest and your shoulders, you lead with your hips.
If you're a short-armed person, you don't have this option actually, because if you see when I'm demonstrating, I can't even demonstrate that because my arms, I've shown this before, here's my Dandasana, so my hands actually don't touch the floor. So if I was to demonstrate this straight back lift that we see often, which is, it's not how we would do it. I can't even demonstrate it because then my torso becomes even longer, so I can't lift at all. Like there's nothing. So really, my short arms have taught me it's essential to round your lower back and tuck the tailbone under and keep the knees to your chest then to find that lift. Yeah,
it's amazing how far you've gotten in the practice considering the...
Shut up, baby.
So another way of thinking about it is to bring your knees to your chest first, because you can't really get your knees to your chest unless you're going to roll back a little bit in that seated position. You can't sit with your back straight and bring your knees up without really feeling like you're working against yourself. But if you try to bring your knees to your chest naturally, it requires you to kind of drop your shoulders towards your knees too, and that's that rounding action. But it sounds easy, right? But then you have to be strong enough to hold that shape as you lean into at the length of your arms. Even Jelena has some length to her arms here, right? So can you come down for a sec again and do this? So look, she's not just going to put the hands here and try to lift up. She's going to put the hands forward, hold that shape, and then it's almost like, when someone's running and does the pole vault, the length of her arm is there for her to come onto. So she's going to come forward, and that's going to lift everything off the floor if she can just hold everything together. Yeah. And so it would be the same in the Tolasana. Knees towards the chest, feet crossed. Oh, the other tip here is not to just cross your ankles, right? Because your feet are going to be closer to the floor then.
Yeah. So, and that sometimes comes because people think about keeping the knees together, but you don't need to keep the knees here together at all. Actually, that makes it really difficult. And we talk about this in our tutorial when we talk about jump throughs and jump backs. It's the same thing. Maybe we should link that somewhere here. So let your knees come towards the shoulders and then cross.
Not the chest, the shoulders.
The shoulders.
Yeah.
And then let your shins cross. So don't cross at your ankles, but cross a little bit higher. And then one more tip, use whichever leg is on the top to kind of bend at the knee and squeeze. So it's kind of holding and pressing you closer together, like into a little round ball. And then from there, again, hands come, so the hands are not in line with the hips, they come forward. And you can even start with the bent elbows a little bit as you rock, and then find that resistance as you push. If this is really difficult, the way we teach at first, your feet might have to be on the floor. But always try to lift by lifting the feet first. And then, so if you have to, go like this and then put the feet down. And then, try to minimize the contact or put less pressure on the feet. Over time, you start lifting one foot off the floor. So it's, just one edge of your foot touching. And then in time, you'll be able to hold both. And this is actually way more difficult, than the full Utpluthih. For some of the students, what they do is that they're able to do a lotus, but they're not able to hold lotus for a really long time. So do it for all of the closing, including the pranayama. So they'll do that part of their practice in kind of just cross-legged version. And then when they come to Utpluthih,
because everyone knows it's easier there.
Yeah, they'll go into full Padmasana and then lift to finish it, because it makes a big difference. And you're already tired. It's the end of the practice. You're done.
The other thing, I don't know if it's super obvious, but the arms, a lot of the time people will set up with their arms externally rotated and try to push from there just through the depression of the shoulders. But I would, whenever I'm doing any of this lifting stuff, I do a little bit of inward rotation. So you can see the heads of the shoulders roll forward a little bit, like that. And then I'm going to pull back through the shoulders as I lift up, like that. So I'm not straightening my arms and rolling out like that. I'm spinning in. I press down through the index knuckle of the hand, and then from there, try to lift.
If it's helpful to you, you can also think about, you don't want your scapulas to squeeze together, which comes from
That's going to put you into more extension in the back.
You want the scapulas to stay nice and broad, and then almost like there's a little bit of a rounding in your upper back as you lift, and that will especially be super helpful and actually essential if you're like me and you have shorter arms, to lift off the floor.
Okay.
And relax your jaw.
Don't come down.
All right.
All right. Hopefully that was helpful.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Comment, subscribe, and like.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.